3 years ago, you quit a very secure, high-paying job with a well-known brand to go chase some vague semblance of a dream. You didn't even know what it was. You're like, I think I'm gonna do this. And then you are just thinking and figuring things out and come up with some sort of idea like, I know I want to build a tech company. I don't know what it looks like. Then we iterate, we want to do an app. Then it's like, it's going to be journaling and mental health and a therapist in your pocket. And then you do market research, having never done market research before. You talk to a bunch of people. You get the wireframe, you find a company, you build it out, you fund it yourself, you keep going, you cash out your 401k, you remove any safety net that you had previously. And even though everybody's telling you no over and over and over again, and you have a list of people who have told you no, for some reason you keep going. Simply because you know you're gonna change the world and you wanna have an impact. And this makes you feel purposeful. And through all that, you just keep knocking on doors. And when less than 1% of funding goes to Black founders, you get funding. And now you're going to go to a community that wasn't just, you could have picked Miami and gotten some nice weather. You're like, no, because the app will make a difference here. And now you're going to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma from New York City. And you're going to continue to build this app. And now you're going to have some of the brightest people in your corner to advise you and push you along. Like, you did that shit.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the Plurawl podcast. The clip that you heard in the intro is from part 2 of the conversation I had with the homie Samara. And if you were listening closely, you would have heard some really big news. Plurawl is officially a venture-backed company. That's right, we have our first institutional investor. And the first investor is none other than Techstars themselves. That's right, Techstars is actually one of the, if not the biggest, investors in early stage tech companies. So it's a pretty big deal. In this episode, you'll hear all about the conversations that I had, the interview, and ultimately what led up to accepting the offer. Because this is such a big deal, I want to celebrate along with you. And to do that, we actually have an offer that is granting people lifetime access to Plurawl for free. That's right, free for life. All you got to do is download the app, create an account, and you're locked in for life, all right? Now, the app is only available for iPhone right now, but when we launch the Android version, we're gonna run a similar promotion for about a week, probably the same time period. So if you want free lifetime access to the Plurawl app and you're an iPhone user, all you gotta do is download and create an account by Sunday. Because this is such a big deal, we wanna celebrate with you. We got some people that have been listening to this podcast and supporting us for years. So right now, we have a promotion. We are giving away free lifetime access to the Plurawl app. That's right, free access for life. All you need to do is download the Plurawl app and create an account by Sunday, March 16th, and you will be locked in. You will be a VIP for life, all right? What are you waiting for?
They're looking for the next Mark Zuckerberg. In fact, I've heard the investors say, this might be the next Mark Zuckerberg. They're not even building the same type of company, like so many differences, but they're looking to match a pattern of what a billionaire founder looks like. But the only reason I don't look like them is because you haven't invested enough in us to give me an opportunity to look like that. You feel me? So that's what I realized. I was like, it doesn't matter how much traction you have. It doesn't matter what the company you're building is, how many lives it can impact, how much is working. They're looking for a specific type of person and look, unfortunately.
So why'd you keep going?
Wow. I kept going because of the feedback I was getting on the app. I realized that I was changing lives. It sounds so like corny and cheesy to say, but like, here's one example. Like, to raise awareness for the app, I was going on TikTok live every day for like 3 hours. And people would go into the live, and I had a backdrop that just said, "You good, Mark?" And it was like safe space to vent. And people would come in there from like, you know, relationship issues. Somebody cheated on me. I'm anxious about this test. But eventually some people will go in there and be like, "I'm going to end it all today." And I was like, please use the appropriate hotlines, 988, right? Go see a therapist, a psychiatrist, all the sort of things that I was saying before. And this person was like, "Nah, I don't want to do that. I'm worried about the cops showing up. If I go to therapist, I'm just going to lie to them." And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Use our app. And I was like, yo, this is the moment I get canceled. What if this person leaves, use the app, and just doesn't come back, right? This person was like, "All right, bet. I'm going to use the app. I'll be right back." He comes back and says that in a few minutes, the app helps him realize that his situation was more manageable than he thought.
How'd that make you feel?
Purposeful, validated, and it gave me the momentum to be like, this is why I'm working on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also made me feel like I'm proving some people right that were like, don't take out your 401k or don't invest in that or like, don't do that. I was like, this shit is working.
Yeah.
I just need to like add some fuel to the fire.
And how do you feel like you did that?
I needed to go out, put my pride behind me, and start these investor conversations up again.
What was the hardest part of the investor conversations, aside from the constant no's?
You know what's funny? Like, at first I was very like, yo, fuck them. I'm gonna prove them wrong. They made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. In reality, like, I don't blame them for not investing in me. Like, I don't think I would have invested in myself.
Looking back now,
I don't think I would have invested in myself. I mean, to be honest, like, some of the worst presentations I've ever put in front of people.
What made you go forward with such a bad presentation? Did you realize at the time it was bad, or were you blinded by like, I have something great here and you should see it too?
That's never been my strong suit, making presentations. It's never been. I can talk to people way better at talking to people without a deck. My thing with decks is that I put way too much shit on the slide. I put way
Too much information.
Way too much information. And also I was focusing on like my story from like faking it at work and doing all these things, but like that's not relatable to the people that I was talking to. So I realized, one, I need to make my deck much simpler. And also I need to put it in the perspective that they would understand. And the investor that ultimately signed on, which we'll talk about, it was the first meeting where I saw a person lean in, literally tell me more. And it's because I worked so hard on the intro, and that piqued their interest, where I was like, oh shit, this person's like engaged. Yeah. Before that, I never saw that. It's a sign.
Yeah. And you didn't recognize it. So
well, all right, it
is what it is, right? Like,
here's the reason why. Because in my head, I'm just like, I just need to move fast. Even if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna get my reps in, and I'm gonna learn from the situation. I want like what went wrong and what didn't go right. In my head, I'm like, there are enough investors out there. Eventually, I'll meet the right one. Sure, I want to get this, but if I don't get it, I'll learn something from it.
So that sounds very positive and optimistic.
Yeah.
And that's all good and well. The last time you did a solo episode was August of last year. You had cashed out your 401k, right? Like, you were running out of money. At what point did you get to be like, I don't know if this is, you said before, like, you think about it all the time. Like, I don't know if it's going to work. But after having so many conversations and getting so many no's, you were like, this is not going to work. I got to find a job.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because at one point the app wasn't working and I got frustrated because I was like, yo, the team hasn't fixed these bugs. What the hell? Blah, blah, blah. Come to find out, the app wasn't working because my credit card maxed out.
Whoops.
And it was at that point I was like, I should probably get a job.
Yeah.
And it wasn't with the idea of like, I'm going to quit this. It was just the idea of like, I can do both.
You need some runway.
I need some runway. And when I first started the company, I was doing both anyway. And we've built the app to a point where, you know, maybe it's a little bit more sustainable. And I was like, maybe I can use some of the money and then I can pay the team and then I can pay someone else to do all these things. And I even started interviewing. Like, I was interviewing with my old job.
Yeah.
Meta. I can't work at TikTok. But I was interviewing Meta and I had a first round. It went really well and we were gonna move forward to the next one. And it was for a level up compared to where I was previously. I was like almost accepting the lifestyle change. And then I got an email from an accelerator program that I applied to.
When did you apply?
I don't remember, but maybe August or so. I think the deadline was in August. So I probably... Do you remember when I got an email? Don't. Okay. I think I applied in August. I think the deadline was in August, and I probably got a call back in like September or so. And it was asking to be interviewed. And now I'm like... First of all, I've gotten so many rejections at this point. I'm just like, I'll interview, but like, am I really gonna get this? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't banking on it. Because when we talked about it, you were very nonchalant.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, just gonna celebrate progress. Like, don't know if it's gonna go anywhere. And it was a little radio silent for a while there. That's holidays and stuff like that.
All right. So the first interview, again, I did my intro. Well, fuck it. I'm gonna tell the intro. I'm gonna say the intro. I kind of like it.
Okay.
So I was like, fuck, what did I say? I was like, oh, so this program, I was like, people often talk about like the thousands of people that apply. But I was like, have you ever thought about like the people that don't apply? Like some of the smartest people in the world, like you'll never get to meet because they've convinced themselves that they're not good enough. And he was like, so I was like, oh, got him. Got him. And by the end of the interview, the person that was interviewing me, he was like, you're moving on to the next round. I was like,
well then.
What? I've never had someone say that to me, especially after an investor call. I was like, I was jumping I was going crazy.
You were so hyped.
I was hyped. Then
you gave an early Friday win that day.
Early Friday win, and I took the. It's crazy. I think there was so much that I was like, this isn't gonna work out. I took the call from my mom's house. I would never do that.
Yeah.
But it was so perfect because I was jumping, I was hugging her and my grandma and all that kind of stuff, and then they were like, "Oh, by next week you'll hear back from us." And it was like damn near Thursday. No, it was Friday, and I was like, I still haven't heard back from them.
Yeah.
Then I messaged him on LinkedIn and was like, "Yo, like."
Remember, I was like, I think this is part of the test.
Yeah, to this day I haven't asked him.
I'm gonna say it was part of.
But then I was like, "Yo, like I thought we was gonna meet up. Thought we was gonna connect before end of week. Like, what's up?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Are you available in an hour?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. Wherever you want me. You want me to show up in person?" And then we had the second round, and it was like a panel interview. So it was like him and the rest of the different partners, and that went well. And then then eventually I got the news that I was accepted into Techstars. It's wild. Like only 1 or 2% of companies that out of the thousands that apply get in.
So I have so many things on that.
It is the #1 startup accelerator for early stage companies.
What does that actually mean? What is an accelerator?
All right. So an accelerator is, well, first of all, they're run by organizations, typically investors. So investors will invest their own dollars, like Shark Tank, for example. And like in Shark Tank, when investors give money to the company, they essentially buy equity in a company. So that's what the accelerator does. So imagine Shark Tank, but after the people on Shark Tank get the investment, Shark Tank then puts them through like startup school.
Okay.
And that's what it is. Like then Shark Tank essentially teaches you the ins and outs of like what they've learned about running a business and scaling it to the next level. So I'm essentially like kind of like going back to school, pretty much.
And so Techstars is the #1. So what are some companies that we may have heard of that have been through their program?
There's a bunch. One that sticks out is ClassPass because I use that so often. And there's a bunch of accelerators out there. Like Y Combinator is maybe one, Techstars #2. I think they both have the same number of like companies that they've invested in that have exited. Yeah, I mean there's so many companies that they've worked with and invested in.
So what does this mean now?
It means that we officially have our first investor, and it's interesting.
So verified, ho.
Verified. Well, the funny part too is that. So Y Combinator, for example, is infamous startup accelerator, and they're in San Francisco. Techstars is different where they have programs all over the country and world. And every program they build around the local city. So they have 2 programs in New York. I applied. My first choice was to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And why is that?
And wait, so my second choice was Baltimore, Maryland. So Baltimore was because their program was focused around healthcare, digital health, all those kind of things. Tulsa, a few different reasons, but one, if you know anything about Tulsa, it's the home of Black Wall Street, where in 1920, before the massacre, it was home to the most black millionaires in the country.
Thriving community.
And it was also, at that time, black people were creating patents at the same rate as white people. So not only was there like money there, but there was like innovation there. So that has a lot of history.
The two go hand in hand.
They do. And then two, if you look at Tulsa as a city, but also Oklahoma as a state, they actually are 13th and 15th when it comes to suicide rates. So when I think about that, and I think about the partnerships that Techstars has established within the local area, and if you think about working in a smaller market, it's a lot easier to build relationships with like the mayor, the government, all these sort of programs, the schools, right? I think about the impact that I can have on that community and hopefully have this sort of impact that will bring us back to Black Wall Street where they were, where it was, you know what I mean? Like having the ability to like contribute to that.
So very intentional.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just, you know.
So I don't know.
Like New York, that's my backyard. You know, San Francisco's got all the tech people. Like you did this because throughout this entire time, you just want to make an impact. You just want to change lives. Do you feel like you've been doing that?
Yes. I'm not downplaying that, but I'm just saying on a small scale. And I think what Techstars is going to do is help me scale that impact. And listen, they didn't invest millions of dollars in me, right? It's a start. But that start, like when you said verified, Techstars investing in me is also a signal to other investors out there that like,
to the market.
If Techstars backed him, maybe we should back him.
Right.
Right? So I know that it'll make things easier for a number of different reasons.
Throughout this, you have had all these different milestones.
Yeah.
And as I've been kind of behind the scenes or front row, I feel like you just keep moving your goalpost. And I'm like, yo, Pabel, how are we going to celebrate? How are we going to celebrate? How are we going to celebrate? And you're like, well, you know, I have the agency, but I don't have the app. I have the app, but it's not in the app store. I have it in the app store, but I don't have investors. It's not Android. It's not this. Do you feel like you can celebrate now?
No.
What will it take for you to feel like you can celebrate?
I mean, I'm always going to celebrate the small wins, but even that I'm calling them small, right? Like, I just feel like there's so much work to do.
Yeah, because pause. 3 years ago, you quit a very secure, high-paying job with a well-known brand to go chase some vague semblance of a dream. You didn't even know what it was. You're like, I think I'm going to do this. And then you are just thinking and figuring things out and come up with some sort of idea like, I know I want to build a tech company. I don't know what it looks like. Then we iterate, we want to do an app. Then it's like, it's going to be journaling and mental health and a therapist in your pocket. And then you do market research, having never done market research before. You talk to a bunch of people. You get the wireframe. You find a company. You build it out. You fund it yourself. You keep going. You cash out your 401k. You remove any safety net that you had previously. And even though everybody's telling you no over and over and over again, and you have a list of people who have told you no, for some reason, you keep going. Simply because you know you're going to change the world and you want to have an impact. And this makes you feel purposeful. And through all that, you just keep knocking on doors. And when less than 1% of funding goes to Black founders, you get funding. And now you're going to go to a community that wasn't just, you know, you could have picked Miami and gotten some nice weather. You're like, no, because the app will make a difference here. And now you're going to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma from New York City, and you're going to continue to build this app. And now you're going to have some of the brightest people in your corner to advise you and push you along. Like, you did that shit.
We did it.
In this episode of how I built this Plurawl decision.
It's a start. It's a start, and I'm excited to see what's to come. Well, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to keep talking about it. So stay tuned for the next episodes and what's to come. Yo, that wraps up another episode of the Plurawl Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. It's going to help make sure that people find us and hear these stories so that we can finally redefine professionalism. Before we get into that, let's take a quick break and tell you about Plurawl. We created the app to help you stop jumping to conclusions. That's right. It's very simple. You just vent, click one button, and we'll help you identify and overcome the limiting beliefs that you're holding on to. You see, there's data out there that says 80% of all of our thoughts as humans are negative, and 95% of them are repetitive. So on a daily basis, we are stuck in this endless loop of self-doubt. Plurawl will help you get out of those negative thought patterns so that you can get back to living your best life.